Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we give you that shortcut, the real insight into complex topics. And today, well, we're diving into the world of a truly unique filmmaker, Aki Kaurismäki. You might know him as the melancholy master of Finnish cinema.
That's a great way to put it. He's someone who really turned minimalism into this high art form and that deadpan delivery. It's practically his own cinematic language.
It really is. And his backstory is fascinating too, isn't it? Not film school, but postman, dishwasher, film critic.
Exactly. And I think that non-traditional route is part of why his films feel so grounded, even when they're depicting this world where, hope and despair are constantly doing this quiet dance together.
Right. So our mission today, basically, is to give you that shortcut to understanding Kaurismäki.
Huh.
What makes his films, well, his. Why do they stick with you? We'll unpack his style, the visuals, the narratives, his themes, and really try to get at his impact on cinema globally.
And hopefully you'll have those aha moments, like how silence can be incredibly loud in his films, or how these tiny, quiet gestures end up carrying so much weight, so much hope.
Okay, let's dive in then. Where do we start? The beginning, I suppose.
Yeah, you have to go back to his foundational years, the late 1970s. That's when he and his brother Mika started their production company, Vili Alpha.
Vili Alpha, right. And it didn't take long for his own style to emerge, did it? I mean, you look at something like The Liar from '81, and the seeds are already there.
Yeah.
That sparse dialogue, the static camera shots, these characters who just seem to carry the weight of the world.
Absolutely. But I think Crime and Punishment in '83 was the real announcement. His take on Dostoevsky, but set in modern Helsinki.
That's a bold move for a debut feature.
Yeah, it was. And what's brilliant is how he takes these huge themes, guilt, isolation, and grounds them in this really mundane, almost everyday kind of desperation. You look at Rahikainen, the protagonist. He doesn't commit murder for some grand philosophical reason. It feels more like this act born out of a quiet, grinding despair. That's a feeling that definitely echoes through his later work.
It's pretty amazing, though. No formal training, but he immediately carves out this identity that's so distinct. It's like he created a whole new way of looking at the world on screen.
Yeah, it really speaks to how personal experience can forge a unique artistic voice, Maybe more than formal training sometimes.
So that leads us right into his cinematic language, which is, unmistakable. You know a Kaurismäki film when you see one?
No, instantly. Within seconds, usually.
And visually, a lot of that comes down to his collaboration with Timo Salminen, the cinematographer, right?
Absolutely crucial. Their partnership defined the look. Those static shots you mentioned, the almost obsessive symmetry in compositions, and that very specific color palette.
Someone described it as perpetually caught between sunset and dawn.
That's perfect. It really captures it. And the camera, it doesn't impose, it observes. Patiently. Almost like a therapist or a sociologist just watching.
And the use of empty space, too. All that sky, those empty streets, the bare walls.
Yes. That's so important. It's not just about showing loneliness, though it does that powerfully. It also invites you, the viewer, to sort of fill in the gaps, to project your own feelings onto it.
So the visuals create this space. Does the sound work in a similar way? Because the silences in his films are just as noticeable as the images.
Oh, absolutely. The sound design is just as deliberate. Silence isn't empty space for Kaurismäki. It's packed with meaning. Those long pauses, the awkward gaps in conversation, they often say more than the dialogue itself.
And when people do talk.
It's clipped. Matter of fact, you learn so much from what isn't said, from the subtext simmering underneath those short lines. It's how these really simple techniques end up creating such deep emotional resonance.
Speaking of depth, we absolutely have to talk about the Proletariat trilogy. Many people call it his masterpiece.
Shadows in Paradise, Ariel, The Match Factory Girl. Yeah, 86 to 90, it's this incredible triptych about working-class life in Finland, but it resonates far beyond that.
So Shadows in Paradise, the first one.
That's Nikander, the garbage collector, and Ilona, the supermarket cashier. Their courtship is, well, it's like a slow waltz. Very quiet, tender moments amidst the grime.
And that final scene.
The dance in the empty ballroom, just quintessential Kaurismäki. So romantic, but also tinged with this deep melancholy. Beautiful.
Then Ariel in '88, that follows Taisto, right? The coal miner.
Yeah, his mind closes, his life falls apart. He goes to Helsinki looking for a fresh start, but the city is just brutal. It really captured something about Finland's economic shifts at the time that moved from industry to something else.
And the third one, The Match Factory Girl. Wow.
1990, just 69 minutes long. It's a masterpiece of compression. Every single frame, every line feels absolutely essential. Nothing wasted.
And Kari Utinen's performance as Iris.
Devastating. Just devastating understatement. Her life is this series of small, crushing humiliations, and it builds to this almost inevitable revenge plot. But even then, it's delivered with that Kaurismäki dryness, that dark humor.
What strikes me about the trilogy is how he portrays these characters. They're often overlooked in society, but he gives them such dignity. There's no romanticizing their hardship, but there's immense humanity.
Exactly. You see their resilience, their quiet strength just laid bare. It's powerful stuff.
So after the trilogy, he starts getting more international attention in the 90s, and his focus seems to shift a bit towards characters who are on the move.
Well, yeah, characters in transit, definitely, both literally and metaphorically.
And Drifting Clouds from '96 feels like a key film from this period. Some say it's his most perfect.
It's certainly up there. You've got Laurie and Ilona, tram driver and restaurant head waitress, both lose their jobs. They face it with that, characteristic Finnish stoicism.
That's stoicism, yeah.
And they try to start their own restaurant, work. The film finds so much hope in these tiny gestures, a free meal given to someone down on their luck, a job interview that turns into a friendship.
The visual style feels even more refined there, too.
Oh, completely. Every frame is like a meticulously composed painting, and that final shot, them walking through Helsinki's market square, it suggests hope, continuation, a quiet kind of victory, just brilliant visual storytelling.
And then maybe his biggest international hit, The Man Without a Past in 2002.
Yeah.
Oscar nomination, Palme d'Or nomination at Cannes.
Right. Huge success. It's the story of a man, M, who gets brutally beaten, loses his memory completely, and has to rebuild his life from scratch. He ends up living in this community of shipping containers on the Helsinki waterfront.
And finds love with a Salvation Army worker.
Played by Kari Uotinen again, wonderfully. That amnesia, it works so well as a metaphor. It's about starting over, wiping the slate clean, the possibility of redemption, maybe.
Markku Peltola, who plays M, his performance is incredible, so minimal.
It's just a masterclass in minimalism. He conveys so much with almost nothing. And when he finally smiles near the end, it's rare in a Kaurismäki film.
You feel it.
You really do. It's like the sun breaking through clouds. It really underscores how these physical journeys in his films are often maps for these deep, emotional, even existential journeys the characters are on.
Moving closer to the present day, his more recent films, sometimes called the Port of Hope trilogy, tackle really contemporary issues. Immigration, refugees.
That's right, starting with Le Havre in 2011.
Set in France, which was a change.
Yeah, he steps outside Finland. It follows Marcel, this aging shoe shiner, who decides to help a young African refugee boy hide from the authorities. It's amazing how he adapts his whole aesthetic to this French port town. But the core themes, human dignity, unexpected solidarity, they're pure Kaurismäki.
And then he came back to Helsinki for The Other Side of Hope in 2017.
That one pairs Khalid, a Syrian refugee seeking asylum, with Waystrom, a Finn who's just bought a rather unsuccessful restaurant after leaving his old life behind. It's about their unlikely connection.
And what's striking is how he handles such a charged topic. There's no, political speechifying.
Not at all. He avoids any kind of grandstanding. It's all about the personal story, the individual connections, the small acts of kindness or cruelty.
So even though these films feel very topical, they connect back to his career-long interests.
Absolutely. Displacement, finding a place to belong, how people connect across divides, these have always been there in his work. He's just applying that same lens to very current global situations, still focusing on the universal human element.
Okay, let's talk about something that feels really central to his unique style. The acting and the music. The whole soundscape, really.
Yeah, the Kaurismäki acting style is definitely a thing. He loves working with his regular troupe, Kari Uotinen, Markku Peltola, Sakari Kuusmanen. Many weren't formally trained actors initially.
And his style is so restrained.
Totally. It's minimalist. Emotions aren't signaled with big gestures or tearful breakdowns. They're suggested. A change in posture, the way someone holds their cigarette, a flicker in their eyes.
The Deadpan delivery, too. It's somehow funny and heartbreaking at the same time.
Exactly. There's often a subtle physical comedy woven in as well, but it's all about understatement.
Katio Tinen feels like the absolute embodiment of that style.
She really does. She can convey a whole lifetime of disappointment or a sudden surge of hope with just a glance or the set of her shoulders. It's incredible to watch. You feel everything, even though she's outwardly doing very little.
And the music is just as important, isn't it? It's not just background noise.
Oh, it's fundamental. He has very specific tastes, lots of melancholic tangos, old Finnish ballads, but also that 50s and 60s rock and roll, stuff like The Renegades or Melrose.
What does the music do in his films?
So many things. It provides emotional release, definitely. It can create this sense of temporal displacement. Like, even though the story is contemporary, the music makes it feel timeless. It offers moments of transcendence.
And you often see bands playing live in the films.
Yes, those live performances are often these little islands of community or emotion within the film, like a shared moment of escape or connection for the characters and for us watching.
You mentioned silence earlier, but the overall sound design.
It's crucial. The silence, yes, but also the natural sounds, the hum of machinery, footsteps on pavement, the clink of glasses. It all works together to create this incredibly specific, textured atmosphere, very grounded.
So it raises this question. How does he manage to say so much, to convey such deep feeling when, on the surface, so little seems to be happening or being said? What's the mechanism there?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I think part of it is just trust. He trusts the image, he trusts the actor's presence, and crucially, he trusts you, the audience.
To do the work.
Yeah, to lean in, to observe closely. The deliberate pacing forces you to slow down. You're not being spoon-fed emotions or plot points. You have to read the silences, interpret the glances, feel the weight of what's not being articulated.
So it's an active viewing experience.
Very active. And the humor often comes from that gap, you know?
Yeah.
The absurdity of a situation bumping up against the character's completely deadpan reaction. It's a very dry, very specific wit that somehow makes the underlying sadness even more poignant.
It feels like a quiet revolution in filmmaking. Which brings us to his influence, his philosophy. It goes way beyond Finland, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
His influence internationally is significant. Filmmakers like Jin Jarmusch, Abbas Kiarostami, you can see echoes of Kaurismäki in their work.
In what ways?
Yeah.
The famous Kaurismäki shot.
That's part of it, yeah. That static, often symmetrical frame, it forces you to look differently. But it's also his narrative approach, finding deep meaning in the mundane, in the lives of ordinary, often marginalized people. And that minimalist acting style has definitely had an impact.
He also proved something important, didn't he, about specificity?
Totally.
Yeah.
He showed that telling very specific, very local stories rooted in Finnish culture, Finnish landscapes, Finnish melancholy could have universal appeal. You don't need to make things generic to cross borders. In fact, the specificity is why it resonates.
So if we had to boil down his core themes, his philosophy, what would that be?
I think it always comes back to human dignity, especially the dignity of those on the fringes, the forgotten people, as he calls them. Finding hope, even tiny sparks of it, in seemingly hopeless situations.
Small gestures mattering.
Hugely. The dignity of work, any kind of work, love, always complicated, often unspoken, but never cynical. And there's definitely a sharp social critique there, too, about capitalism, inequality. But it's never preachy. It's woven into the fabric of the stories.
It's fascinating how someone called the Melancholy master ends up offering such a profoundly hopeful worldview, isn't it?
It really is. The melancholy is undeniable, but the hope is just as real, maybe even more powerful, because it has to fight so hard to exist.
And his legacy keeps building. He's hinted at retirement a few times.
Yeah, which adds a certain poignancy to his later films. The Other Side of Hope in 2017 was initially billed as potentially his last, though thankfully he's made another since, but it showed his style was still so potent, so fresh.
And the critical acclaim has been consistent. Cannes Awards, comparisons to masters like Bresson, Ozu.
Deservedly so.
Yeah.
He occupies this really interesting space, critical darling, but also genuinely popular, especially in Europe. His films about economic hardship, like Drifting Clouds, really struck a chord during financial crises, showing their enduring relevance.
So wrapping this up, what is it about Kaurismäki that makes his films endure? Why should people seek them out?
I think in our incredibly fast-paced, noisy world, his films offer stillness. They offer a pause. They ask you to slow down, to really look, to find the meaning that exists in the quiet moments and simple interactions.
And the characters.
His characters, yeah. Their stoicism, their resilience, their flippering hope. They remind you that ordinary lives, lives often lived in the shadows, are incredibly worthy of our attention, profoundly cinematic.
His visual style, too, it feels almost prophetic now.
It does. What might have seemed austere decades ago now looks like pure painterly cinema. He reminds us of film's potential as a visual art form.
Ultimately, what's the message?
I think it's about the radical possibility of connection, of
Yeah.
kindness, of hope surviving even in the harshest landscapes. His films offer comfort, maybe even inspiration, by showing that dignity persists, that small gestures matter, and that profound truths are often found where we least expect them.
Whether he makes another film or not, his body of work is just immense, a
Yeah.
gift.
Absolutely. It will keep rewarding viewers for a long, long time.
His films don't just entertain, do they? They kind of gently insist that we look at our own world differently. They make you ask, where do we find dignity? Where do we find purpose, connection, even beauty when things feel bleak?
And maybe the answer, as Kaurismäki shows us time and again, is right there in front of us. In the quiet places, in the small kindnesses, in the people we might otherwise overlook.